Hi. Oh, what's up? Hello? Hello? What are you trying to say? Hi. What's up? Hello, Cindy. Cindy came up to say hello. Cindy is joining the live stream today. Hi. Hi, Cyrix. Hi, Dan. Or Denver. Hi, Denver. Hi, Bam. Hi, Vata. To Putin claiming Ukraine land as Russia. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Theo. Hi, Barb. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Peter. Hi, James. Hi, Cody. Hi, Norm. Hi, Taz. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jason. Jason, I'm going to email Kim right after the stream. I'm a little all over the place today. Hi, Mariana. Hi, Alosha. Hi, Beatrice. Hi, everyone. Come here. Come here. Oh, babes. What's up? It's funny today. Hi. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, Kirby. Hi. Oh, hi, Kim. Hi, Kim and James. No Twitch today? Yes, Twitch today. I even see comments on Twitch. James, I don't know why you don't see Twitch. Her allergies are like, we're treating them. They're not fully gone, but they're definitely better today. She is a little bit of a, troublemaker as per always. So I was asked if Cindy's allergies are gone. They're not fully gone, but they're getting there. Hi, Todd. She has this thing today. We had an exterminator come because I live in New York. Every month there is an exterminator that comes and does prophylactics, especially like during the months that it rains, because roaches, New York, to prevent them. And so Cindy, being a very curious dog that she is, this every time that the exterminator comes, she tries to shove her face into his like exterminating gear, and I have to like run around after her around the apartment because she wants to smell everything. And while it's pet safe, I'm like, do not go there. We have so many allergies. Do not go there. But yes, this is my little gremlin. Little gremlin is being a little ass. All right, gremlin, how are you doing today? Oh yeah, gremlin. But yeah. So there are so many news today. And normally I put something as a headline because I think it's a very important thing that happened that day. We have 3 headlines today. I think I've had 2 at the most so far. Today we have 3 headlines, which is a lot of headlines, and all of them are like pretty interesting, I would say. Another thing that I want to say, which is not a headline, but something that needs to be discussed, is all of the Russian refugees that are men. So there is this trend to call Russian men who are fleeing mobilization refugees. And the countries that accept them fleeing mobilization put them into refugee facilities. So Vasil actually just showed me a video where this woman was talking about how she is a refugee in Finland. And she and her kids live in this refugee facility. Most of the people who are refugees in that facility are women with children. These are the women who fled Izum, Mariupol, Severodonetsk, who fled Irpin, Bucha, places like that, right? And Finland decided to put these Russian refugee men who are fleeing the war in the same facility as they put the Ukrainian women with their children. Now, I understand that it's your business whether you're going to be accepting Russian refugees, period. I personally do not think that they deserve to be refugees, and I don't think that they deserve to have a status of a refugee. They're not a refugee. They're rats fleeing the sinking ship. And instead of doing something within their country to change the situation, they're fleeing mobilization because they don't want to die on Ukrainian front lines. But you are traumatizing these Ukrainian women and children because this woman was saying, how am I supposed to explain to my kids who hear Russian speech that we are living next to people that we are living next to people that came to kill us, that we're living next to people from who we were running away from. And I don't know if it's some sort of a mashup. I don't know if it's some sort of like a mistake on Finland's behalf, but it's incredibly insensitive and incredibly unbelievable to me that Finland, being so as supportive as Finland is, would put, pardon my French, fucking Russian men in the same facility as Ukrainian women with children who fled torture, captivity, and deaths of their relatives. A lot of these kids don't have a dad anymore, not because the dad went to the front lines, but because they were tortured by Russians in the cities from which they fled. It's so crazy to me. Hi, Shawnee. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Jillian. But yeah, I find it, I'm so grateful to Finland. I'm so grateful to Finland for, accepting so many Ukrainians. I'm so grateful to Finland for helping us out so much, for standing up for us so much, for standing against Russia so much. But I genuinely don't understand. Whatever the law is, even if you don't have enough facilities, then don't give them refuge like that. Don't accept refugees. Don't accept people who run away from Russia. They're not refugees. Don't accept traitors then. Don't accept people who are too weak to do something and then put them in front of Ukrainians who have already had to run away from them. These women are like horrified. They're horrified. They are literally traumatized and horrified. And now they have to live near Russian conscription dodgers in the same building next door to them. To me, this is like, I don't know what the reason for it is. I'm sure there is some sort of like bureaucracy that they can't avoid. But at the same time, at that point, you need to make a choice. You need to make a choice. Whether you are going to be accepting Russian men who are running, or whether you are going to be accommodating Ukrainian refugee women with their children who ran from those Russian men. And I understand that there might not be any other facilities and there might not be any other spots in those facilities, but then you don't fill them. Then you don't put Russian men next to Ukrainian women who run away from those Russian men. Like, can you imagine how traumatizing and how horrifying it is when you're a victim of a genocide? Like, can you imagine? I always have to give this example because it feels like people just don't like connect the dots here. If you were to accommodate a bunch of Jewish refugees, women, with their children in the 1940s, would you put German men living in the building next to them? Would you think that's acceptable? Imagine putting Jewish women who ran away from concentration camps. I love your reporting, but you're missing a few dots. Am I missing a few dots? First of all, that is a very condescending and patronizing comment. Second of all, I'm not missing a dot here, and I'm sure that you are going to say that these men are the men that would have otherwise been drafted, and that Russia is not going to be able to draft them. First of all, I firmly believe skilled Russians fleeing Ukraine helps survival of Ukraine. Does it? Because these are not skilled conscripts. These are people who would literally be bullet meat. Also, these Russians support the war. A lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of them have Z's on their windshields that they take off before they enter these countries. They're not skilled. And also, them fleeing doesn't help Ukraine's survival. There's 145 million of them. 100,000 of them fleeing does not help the conscription reduction, because there's still 100,000 other alcoholics that they can draft. Trust me. But them resisting and doing something in Russia, that would help. Do not tell me I'm missing dots on something that you are very, very far away from. And do not be so patronizing when you say that. I really, 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 I'm so tired of telling this to men. The most skilled ones are the ones most likely to get out. Yeah? How does that help survival of Ukraine? It does not help survival of Ukraine, because currently it doesn't matter how skilled you are. If you're a computer programmer, it doesn't matter, because the only thing that would help survival of Ukraine right now is these men protesting and these men trying to take down their government. 1. 2, I literally, from the very beginning of this broadcast, said it is not about Finland letting them in. It is about Finland housing them next to women who fled concentration camps. I don't care that there are 20 comments that are saying the same thing. At the end of the day, my opinion is not influenced by 20 comments that are saying the same thing, Russell. The problem here is there are Ukrainian women who fled Russian concentration camps in which their children and their children's fathers were tortured, in which their children were raped. And they're being put to live next to Russian men who are fleeing the war. No matter how many dots you connect and where you put them, these dots don't connect. So I'm not the one missing the dots. You're the one missing the dots. And I'm sure you love my content, but I'm not here for you to agree with me. My content is here to challenge the perceptions that are wrong. My content is here to explain to people what's happening and why certain things are wrong if I see them. It literally doesn't matter whether these Russians are skilled or not skilled, or whether they support Ukraine or whether they don't support Ukraine. It does not matter. It's traumatic. Imagine putting a Jew who fled a concentration camp next to Germans. Do you think they care whether they're good Germans or bad Germans? No, they have trauma for the rest of their life. Craig, I don't know what's happening with the internet in the past couple of days, but I honestly, I'm like losing my grip here. Craig here says, I agree with you majority of time, but not all Russian men are rapists. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do you understand that it doesn't matter if they're rapists, if they're good, if they're bad, if they're gonna fucking bake a pie for these women? It doesn't matter. Let me draw you another parallel. Here is a parallel. There is a Jewish mother and her child who escaped a concentration camp in which the father died from torture and the kid was experimented on. And the kid was experimented on. They fled that concentration camp that had that had German soldiers. Now they fled into safety, lived in safety for 2 months, and other Germans were put next door to them. Do you think these women are going to be like, oh, these are good Germans? These are good Germans. I'm not painting all Russians as rapists, Craig. I am saying that putting Russian men from which Ukrainian women with children were running away next to Ukrainian women with children who went through torture, filtration camps, concentration camps, captivity, and have seen their relatives die at the hands of Russian soldiers is abominable. And the fact that there are so many people arguing that is incredible to me. For some reason, every single person here understands why it's wrong to put a Jewish person near a German person in 1940s. But when I say that Ukrainian women who literally escaped concentration camps created by Russia in their own homes, it's like, oh, it's really bad optics. What are you talking about? Not all Russians are rapists. Would you be advocating for Jews to be put next to Germans in 1940s? What the fuck? I'm sorry for cursing, but I don't understand. What in the actual fuck? The fact that it's traumatic for me to hear about this. Do you understand what goes on through a Ukrainian person? Let me illustrate something for you. I'm a person whose parents live in a war zone in a relatively safe place. I'm a person who's not personally in Ukraine listening to air raid sirens every day. I'm a person who hasn't been in Russian captivity, in Russian occupation, and who hasn't seen my relatives die. Every time I walk down the street and I hear Russian speech, I twitch. My body goes stiff and I am scared. And every single time, as a coping mechanism, I have a reaction of starting to sing Ukrainian songs to see whether they're Ukrainians or Russians and to see whether I need to walk faster and go home or whether I can keep walking at the same pace at which I was walking. Because it's scary. It's scary because I see what Russians do to us every day. It's scary because I've seen lots of reports of Russians beating up Ukrainians abroad for being Ukrainian. It's fucking scary. I have a coping mechanism reaction to hearing Russian speech. I, a person who is just Ukrainian, who lives abroad. Can you imagine the reaction of a Ukrainian person who has been in Russian captivity, who has been tortured by Russians, who has been in Russian occupation, who has seen their families die, who has seen their husbands being tortured, and that mother with her child is in a refugee facility where she feels safe, and she sees Russian men speaking Russian. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what that mentally does to them? And for you guys to advocate, oh, it's fine that they're living here. It's fine that they're living here, so long as they're not on the Ukrainian front lines. No, it's not fine. First of all, most Ukrainians do not agree with letting Russians outside of Russia. Because here's the thing, I don't think you understand this, because most of you are lucky to live in countries where you're never going to have to experience this shit. Most of you are lucky that you have never heard about all of these Russian atrocities until 8 months ago. And it's good. I never wish for you to be able to understand this. I never do. I hope that I'm glad that you have never known the fucking horror show that it is to be a Ukrainian person for the last 300 years living next to Russia. But here is the thing. Those Russians that you welcome into your countries, that you say the good Russians, the smart Russians, the skilled Russians, first of all, the majority of those people already left. Second of all, even those good Russians, even those smart Russians, even those whatever, still, oh yeah, Timofey, of course, I care about your opinion. Yeah, Timofey, sure. Anyways, I love when a Russian person comes into my stream and tells me not all Russians are bad. I don't care about a Russian opinion. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we had to go through 300 years of your repressions for me to sit here and tell you that I don't care what you think and what you have to say. And for the first time in your life, you're going to have to deal with it. Anyways, point is that it's been years and years and years. And every single one of those Russians that's good has at least once in their life called a Ukrainian chachol. That is an N-word for Ukrainians. Every one of those Russians is annoyed that they have to flee Russia because Ukrainians have a war. Because Ukrainians have a war, okay? TikTok and YouTube, Maxim. And Twitter. Every one of those Russians. Half of those Russians at the border who flee literally write in their little Telegram chats and go, so do you think I should take the Z off of my car? The majority of Russians who flee now support the war. They just don't want to die in it. And it's like the other thing that just like pisses me off to the point of no return is when people who are so far remote and far away from this situation, from this war, start telling me you don't understand. Not all this, not all that. Let me explain to you, a Ukrainian person, how this actually works. Because, you're Ukrainian and you're emotional and you're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about it straight. You're not thinking about it straight. You're just Ukrainian, so it's too personal for you, so you don't know what you're talking about. You're just talking about it as like a person who doesn't want to see Russians at all ever in their life. Yeah, I don't. Do I think it's possible? No. Do I understand that I'm going to have to interact with Russians, like at work or somewhere else, and I'm just going to have to deal with it? Yeah, I do. You don't care about them fleeing because you're not Ukrainian and it doesn't directly affect you. You don't care about them fleeing because you don't understand that them fleeing means that Russia is not going to fucking fall. And the people who are fleeing currently are not the bright Russian brains that are weakening Russia. The people currently fleeing are bullet meat. Okay? That doesn't weaken Russia. The people that are currently fleeing, in large majority, supported this war. Yeah, Russians were called Moskali, my dear, because Moscovia. It's not a derogatory slur. It's because Russia is a stolen name from Ukraine. Because Kyiv, Rus, Ukraina. Russia was Moscovia. We call them Muscovites, Moskali, because we refuse to let them steal the name of our kingdom, which they stole and appropriated, and with that killed us off, starting when they stole and appropriated it. So we don't call them Moskali as a derogatory. We call them Moskali because Moscovia, Moscovite, Moskali are residents of Moscovia, which is the real name of Russia before they stole it from Ukraine. And I understand I'm being very condescending right now. I get it. But I've been saying this for the past 8 months. Okay? Oh, look at that. There is a Russian saying, no, we don't call Ukrainians We don't call Ukrainians chachli, we call them malorosy. Malorosy means little Russians. You know, that's like a derogatory for like, oh yeah, little Russians, under Russians, malorosy. There is a Russian over here who lives abroad. There is a Russian over here who lives abroad. Okay? Who's writing, no, we don't call you chachli, we call you malorosy. And that is the fucking Russians that you let in, because you can't filter whether they're good Russians or bad Russians at the border, because they're going to do whatever it is for you to let them in. Okay? First of all, to someone who is asking me if I'm Ukraine or Russia, I'm not a country. I'm a person. I am Ukrainian citizen and national. I'm not Ukraine, however, because I'm not a country. I speak Ukrainian language. I don't speak Ukraine because you can't speak a country. You can speak on behalf of a country, which is kind of what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm not Ukraine, no. And I for sure am not Russia. But I am Ukrainian. Mm-hmm. Манера вас напрягает. А вы думаете, мне не похуй, что вас напрягает? Простите меня, пожалуйста, что вас напрягает, как я разговариваю. Ну, блин, вот я вот в жизни сидела и разговаривала все это время, и вот думала, вот придет ко мне русский, и его будет напрягать, как я разговариваю, и он захочет меня послушать, но его вот моя речь напрягает. Вот напрягает русских, как украинцы разговаривают, напрягает их, что вот украинцы заводятся, когда слышат о русских. Ой, ну простите, пожалуйста, что я вас напрягаю, ну так идите нахуй тогда, пожалуйста, вы мне здесь не нужны. It's okay. It's okay. Вы всегда можете пойти на одну дорогу, на которую я всегда посылаю русских. Это нахуй. Это очень легко. Это недалеко. Просто нахуй. Anyways, sorry. There was a Russian person that told me that, you know, I'm saying things that are attractive, but the manner in which I'm saying them is annoying to the person. So I should change my my manner of speech. So, well, I told them that, you know, my whole life I was just waiting for a Russian person to come and to give me the grace of listening to me. And now, you know, I care so much how they see me and what annoys them. And so I'm going to switch my manner of speaking just to make them feel better. Because, you know, they can't just go and fuck off, right? That's not an option. Anyways, all I'm saying literally all I'm saying is that Russian people running away is a disgrace, and all of those men who run away could have literally created a movement and could have literally taken down their government. They love to complain about their government, and they love to complain how their life is bad, and then they run away and don't do shit. And then they give a $50 donation from their newly European salary to a Ukrainian foundation, and they go, I do so much for Ukraine, okay? I donate. I support Ukraine, okay? And you're mean to me. And then they spend more time arguing with Ukrainians about good Russians than they actually do something that helps. Also, funny thing is, I too donate $50 to Ukraine, okay? Not once, but actually like bi-weekly, most likely, actually more, you know? It doesn't matter. But I don't sit there and go, look at me, a good Ukrainian citizen. Here is what I've done, apart from raising money online. Here is what I have done. You know, I don't go there and I don't try to say how amazing I am for helping my own country, okay? Because it is the least I can do for my country. The absolute least I can do. And so I don't feel like going online and telling people that I'm doing the bare minimum and I should be respected for it. Okay? But Russians, however, every time they do something for Ukraine, they make such a big deal out of it. Like everybody has to go down on their knees and kiss their feet for doing that. Let me do a little bit of a news flash for you. That is the least you can do. After running away from Russia and not doing shit to stop this war, the least you can do is donate to a Ukrainian organization. The least you can do. And guess what you don't deserve for it? Praise. Does that make you an amazing person? No, it makes you a decent human being. And if you are proud of running away and donating to Ukraine 7 months into this invasion, well, then I don't even know what to say to you, genuinely. And you know what's the worst part? Every single time I have a Russian come to my stream, they literally spend more time telling me what they disagree with me on and how I'm wrong about Russian this and about Russian that and about that. And not a single one of them has ever asked me, what do you think we could do better? Not a single one. Not a single one. Not a single one of Russians that I've had on my streams, come on my streams, here, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, you name it. Not a single one, and I'm not exaggerating, in 8 months have asked me, hey, okay, what do you think we can do? And what do you think would be useful? Okay, what's an example of something that deserves praise? You want praise for doing a good thing? Well, then, if you want praise for doing something right and something good, don't do it. That's not the point. But yeah, Russians every day ask me, every single day, literally tell me what I'm saying wrong, what I don't get, how I don't understand, how they could die in jail while, are you shitting me? Do you know how many friends I've lost? Do you know how many acquaintances I've lost? And not even on the front lines, literally in their motherfucking apartment because a missile landed on it. You want to tell me you could die in jail for protesting? That's funny. You could. You know what Ukrainians think every day? They wonder not if a missile's going to land on their roof. They wonder when. They wonder when. Okay? Because it's inevitable that it's going to happen. So, I'm sorry that I don't care for good Russians. Actually, I'm not sorry. Here is the thing. One day, if one of you has the decency to literally ask, what can we do to help? Then maybe I will have a conversation with you. But so far, the only thing that I hear, guys, can you take out that loans, this person? Thank you. I'm just gonna block. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mute. Okay. Goodbye. Sorry. Annoying. Anyways, the only thing that Russian people have told me on my stream so far is, no, we are doing this right. We are doing that right. Actually, I donate to Ukraine weekly. I'm good. I deserve you to think I'm good. And you have to think I'm good. And that is my conversations with Russians in these comments. Not a single one of them has been like, oh, really? You think this is not effective? What do you think could be effective? How can I help? I really do want to help. I'm scared of dying in Russia from protesting, but what can I do to help? No, they yell at me and they argue me. That's all I have to say for good Russians. Anyway. Страшно, что кто ни при чем тоже страдает. Серьезно, кто ни при чем? А ты думаешь, Украина при чем? Ты думаешь, Украина в украинце при чем? Ты думаешь, украинцы при чем, которые страдают? Страшно же, что люди, которые ни при чем страдают. Да, только проблема в том, что россияне все при чем. Потому что вы вот это вот разрешили. Вы не выходите, и вы ни хрена с этим не делаете. Вы не убираете свою власть. Вы просто орете, что она вам не нравится. Окей? И потом вы убегаете из страны и ждете, пока что-то изменится. А что изменится, если вы все поубегали? И в стране остались только долбоебы, простите, которые любят Путина. Как это изменится? Никак. Никак не изменится. И то, что вам страшно, что люди, которые ни при чем, пострадают, а вся Украина ни при чем. Мы все ни при чем. Мы тупо все ни при чем. Мы вообще ни при чем. Это не наш президент, не наши проблемы, не наша Россия, не наши люди, не наше, промытие мозгов, не наши идиоты, не наша армия, не наши долбоебы, которые пришли и нас убивают. Тысячами, сотнями тысяч нас убивают. В Мариуполе, например, полгорода. Убили. Окей? И мы все ни при чем. А у вас вот страшно же, даже те, кто ни при чем, вот забирают в обезьянники, вот вас там садят на сутки и, блин, пытают вас, ну пипец. Как жаль. Страшно же. А жить в квартире, в которую через 5 минут может прилететь бомба, не страшно? А выходить на улицу, где русский солдат тебя может изнасиловать, не страшно? А в подвале жить и притворяться, что тебя там вообще нет, не страшно? Anyways, I'm done with Russians. And if you want to do something to help, I saw a Russian person asking, "Hi, I'm from Moscow. What can you do to help you leave?" Well, first off, 8 months too late. Thank you for asking for the first time now. Second of all, I will tell you what you can do to help. You can stop trying to fight for not good Russians, because that's not the point. That's not the point. Stop trying to put spotlight on yourself. Okay? Second of all, you stop arguing Ukrainians on what we say. Here's the thing. Your nation is killing us off. And for us, traumatically, it doesn't matter whether you're good or bad. Stop arguing us. It's literally like you're wasting time and potential that you could actually be helping Ukraine. Так, з Львова. Okay? First two things, easy. Literally, stop arguing Ukrainians. You don't like something we're saying, deal with it. You know how many things we didn't like that Russians were doing and saying for like centuries? And we died from them. You just have to listen. Your ego just has to listen to us not liking you, okay? Deal with it. You want to help Ukrainians? Amplify our voices. A Ukrainian person says Russians are cowards? Amplify our voice, because it's true. It's true. Whether you want to admit to it or whether you don't, it's true. You want to help Ukrainians? Amplify the fact that in your country, people would rather run away than stand up against their government. Oh, honey, Eduan, that person? Oh, honey, first of all, I'm not eligible for the military. I can't run. I need a knee surgery, literally. Like, I can't walk properly. Okay? 1. 2, I'm not eligible for the draft because the draft is closed. Okay? 3, Ukrainian military is not looking for cannon fodder, which I would be. They're looking for trained people. And they won't spend so much time teaching another person who doesn't know what they're doing because they're looking now for people who know what they're doing. Okay? You want to go to the army? You go do that. Go join the army in your country. Don't tell me what to do. I know what I'm doing. And I know how I'm helping. And I didn't ask you. But, anyways, before I finally go into the news, because God, Russians always find a way to freaking, like, I don't know. Anyways, just too much Russian presence everywhere. Anyways, but if you're a Russian and you're from Moscow and you want to do something, here are the things you can do. Instead of posting about the war in Ukraine, you can amplify Ukrainian voices talking about the war in Ukraine. We don't want you to talk about our side of the war in Ukraine. We don't. We don't want you to use our voice to do that. We don't. We do not want you to speak on our behalf. We really don't. You know what pisses me off the most is when Russians talk about how bad the war in Ukraine is to Western audiences on our behalf, because you don't get it. It's kind of like, you know, a white person talking about racial discrimination experiences of Black people. I will never be able to get it because I've never been discriminated racially. Okay? So, first of all, do not talk about the war in Ukraine. Simple. You want somebody to talk about the war in Ukraine? Repost videos of Ukrainians. Create an account. Stop showing your face. Stop trying to monetize. Stop trying to have people sympathize with you. Literally, go find Ukrainian creators, follow them, and repost their videos. Tag them. Freaking repost them. Give them voice. Literally, stop as a Russian person being the good Russian who talks about the war in Ukraine and explains it to foreigners. Stop it. We don't want you to speak on our behalf. How is this so hard to understand? We don't. We really, really, really don't want to hear Russian people talk for us. Instead, amplify Ukrainian voices. Even if you don't like what we're saying, put your ego aside and try to understand us. This is an experience you will never understand, because as Russians, you have never been discriminated in Russia or by Russia. The people who can understand us somewhat are Dagestani, are Yakuti, are Buryati, are Tatari, because they've been treated like a minority. Okay? But Russians never have. You guys have always been above everyone. Above everyone. And you've always considered yourselves above everyone. So now, you speaking for us, about us, on our behalf, is literally showing the same thing. It's like we can speak for ourselves. Thank you so much. You want to help us? Literally sit back, stop it, amplify our voices. You don't like that we say that you are cowards? Deal with it. You are. Do you want to tell me that running away from Russia instead of protesting and getting hurt for the cause is not cowardice? It is. It's the definition of that. And we as Ukrainians who have died like that, protesting against your government, taking over our government, starting in 2004 with Yanukovych. We've done that. So I'm sorry. But we have the full right to be like, yo, you guys are not helping. You're just running away and then you want pity. So yeah, you want to help a Ukrainian person without actually going and taking over your government and protesting? Stop talking about our suffering and start letting us talk about it. Is that a lot to ask? Is that a lot to ask for every single Russian person who wants to talk about the war from a Russian perspective, explaining it, a Russian person who does not support the war, who's pro-Ukrainian? If you think of yourself as a Russian person who does not support the war, who wants it to end, and who is pro-Ukrainian, the best thing you can do is shut the fuck up and amplify Ukrainian voices. Literally the easiest thing you can do. Do not go and give your opinion. Do not go and advocate for how difficult it is for Russians. Do not go and advocate about, I don't know, not all Russians and stuff like that. Go find Ukrainian videos and repost them. Find Ukrainian voices and repost them. Find Ukrainian creators and spread awareness about them. That's all. That's all you gotta do. It's not that difficult. Oh yeah, well that dude, the Trussen dude called me Dolboyobicha, which means a fucktard. So yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna answer this too. So even those who did not elect anybody because they're less than 18 years old are to blame? No, but it still applies to you. It still applies to you that if you can't do anything about this, then what you can do, which is super easy and should not prompt this response from you, is to sit back, shut up, and not talk on my behalf about my people who are dying from your people. All you have to do is not even mention some sort of shit on your profile that says, I am Russian and I support Ukraine. What do you want, a cookie? Like, do you think every single person on their profile goes, I am French and I support Ukraine. I've donated this much money to Ukraine. No one does that. No one does that. Okay? You literally do not have to make it into like a fetish that you are Russian and you support Ukraine. Because you know what that sounds like? It sounds like, hey, I'm a decent human being and I want praise for being a decent human being. You literally go, you have your account. Please don't do the whole fucking like, I am Russian and I stand with Ukraine. Why? Why does everybody need to know that you are Russian and you stand with Ukraine? Just go amplify Ukrainian voices. Genuinely. Why do you need recognition for that? Why? That's ego. Needing recognition for being Russian who doesn't support the war is ego. That's all. Hi, Georgia. Okay. James, did you take a screenshot of what that dude said? I'd love to send that to TikTok as another proof of Russian bots targeting me. Привет. Did anyone take a screenshot of that dude saying count the time before you get banned? Because I'd love to have that screenshot. Thank you. Actually, thank you so much for saying that, Russian bot, because you just made my case in point. Yeah, you did, Theo. Perfect. Thank you, Theo. Well, see, to that idiotic thing, thanks. Thanks for saying that. Really. The only thing TikTok asked me for in order to make my account unbannable is that. And you just gave it to me. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you so much. Honestly. Thank you. Gosh. All I needed was proof. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh. The UN Security Council, Russia vetoed a resolution by the United States and Albania that did not recognize the results of referendums in 4 regions that joined Russia. The United States takes Russia's statements regarding nuclear weapons very seriously and is taking steps if Moscow uses them. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said at a joint briefing with the Canadian Foreign Minister. According to him, the United States does not see any actions on the part of Russia that would indicate preparations for the use of nuclear weapons. Canada supports Ukraine's bid to join NATO, Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly. So here is an interesting thing. I'm sure you've heard about it, but this is one of the important things on the docket for today. Ukraine applied for NATO under a simplified procedure. So Ukraine is now going to be applying, well, it did apply. Zelensky signed the application. I don't know if it has been delivered yet or it has not been, but Zelensky signed a NATO application of Ukraine under a simplified procedure. And he did that strategically right after Russia said that they're annexing Ukrainian regions and that these sham referendums had like a super high turnout. So basically, World War III is going to be Russia's fault, you Russian trolls. Anyways, so what I'm trying to say here is that it was a very strategic move done on Zelensky's behalf because Putin was like, yes, we annexed these territories and all these citizens obviously are going to be, are so happy to be living in Russia and stuff like that. And Zelensky to that decided to respond and say, well, you know what? We're applying for NATO. Here's the thing. Of course, I understand it's not going to be overnight. Of course, I understand they're most likely going to put us through 7 levels of hell before we can even join. I get it. But the fact that there are countries showing their support to Ukraine's application is incredibly important. You guys who tell me, you Ukrainian guys who tell me things like, oh, they're not going to let us into NATO. Oh, they're not going to do this. Oh, they're not going to do that. I understand, but you need to understand there's political play here. And that right now, the things that we can do in order to weaken Putin is political play. And this political play is really important. And it is really really important to have that political play, because that shows that these countries are happy for Ukraine to apply. It shows that NATO is not flat out no. It also shows, okay, you want to think that your piece of paper matters something and you're going to annex territories? Well, we're going to apply to NATO, see how you can annex territories then. It's a move, and it is a very, very slap in the face move, because one of the things that Putin didn't want to happen for Ukraine, that Putin didn't want to happen for Ukraine was NATO. And one of the reasons why also attack now is because NATO doesn't normally take applications for people in active warfare. But they did. They didn't reject the application, although we're in active warfare. World War III has been here, you guys. I don't know if you have been living under the rock or what, but you know. Hi, Lars. Someone says maybe dialogue is still possible for Russian leaders and Ukrainians to go back to the negotiating table and talk over the problems and then blaming each other. Oh, we're not blaming anybody. We don't have to. Their actions talk for themselves. Them destroying our cities and murdering and torturing our citizens speaks for themselves. No, there is no possibility to negotiate at a negotiation table with terrorists, because those terrorists also want us to give up our territory to them, which will, in fact, in turn, create more concentration camps for our people. We're not playing the blaming game here. Mind you, we're not really blaming anything on anyone. Satellite images can prove that and can speak for themselves. Of all of the mass graves near Mariupol, Izum, I think that's enough to not need words. Someone says, "What?" Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to. I don't have the bandwidth today for Russians pretending to be Ukrainians and saying NATO doesn't need Ukraine. What are we going to give them? Wheat? Oh, Ukraine is only, when not occupied, the second largest deposit of gas and oil in the world. Weird, right? Ukraine is also only the breadbasket of Europe. Ukraine also has some of the most advanced airplane building facilities and aerospace engineering. Ukraine only has the largest nuclear power plants in Europe. Ukraine only has one of the largest amount of natural resources in Europe. Yeah. Why would anybody need us? It's not like we are just, a central located gold mine. Why would anyone need us? Also, yeah, Ukraine is the IT hub of Europe. As a result of the shelling of the convoy in Zaporizhia, 30 people were unalived. National police. Among the dead were 2 children and 88 people were injured. Also, while I was over here trying to spending so much time explaining to Russians why it's okay to shut up and just amplify Ukrainian voices, I forgot to say one thing. So I have found myself desperately needing a weekend, desperately needing a day off without news. Because I can't, if I do news every day for 2 hours, which is what I have been doing, at some point, what ends up happening is I just I don't have time to finish basic things like laundry and errands and stuff like that. And so I have thought to myself that I will take Sundays off. But instead of just taking Sundays off, on Sundays, I'll be doing a video. And the video is basically going to be called something like Sunday News Briefly. And I will be uploading it to YouTube, and it's going to be like a 10 to 20 minute rundown of all the most important news that I think happened for today or for that Sunday, with pictures and videos and stuff like that. And instead of me spending 2 hours going over it with you guys, I will just give you commentary on the side to all of these things that I consider the most important, and I will put in the videos into them. Do you think that that's a format that you would like? Do you think Sunday news briefs with shorter news, shorter videos with news summaries of the most important things would work for you? Also, thank you for the gift. Okay. Awesome. All right. So then Sunday news briefs it is. Yes. Yes. That's so funny, James. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Mariana. Okay. I'm glad that that works for everyone. Alrighty then. So then Sundays on YouTube, they're going to be 10 to 20. I think 20 minutes is actually fine. I don't think I personally can fit all of my commentary in 10 minutes. They might end up being 30 minutes. Who knows? But point is, they're going to be much shorter than the normal 2-hour live. And they're just going to come in a format in which is going to be much more packaged into a smaller thing. Why not just take the day off for you? Because I don't want to not do the news, and I don't want to be backed up on the news on Monday. And I want to, here's the thing. The thing with me taking a day off, it's not that I this whole time didn't need a day off, or because this whole time I was scared that people are going to stop watching me if I have a day off or something like that. It's because I don't want to not have the news that day about Ukraine. Like, I will feel awful if I don't have a news like brief, you know, because there's still things happening no matter whether I'm tired or whether I need rest, things still happen. And what I think I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to do it like as an evening thing, so maybe like by like 7 or something, because I'm going to try to edit it in the morning and film it in the morning or like noon, because that's usually when most of the news are in already. What are you doing? And so I am just going to like you know, upload it and have it like upload by maybe like 6 p.m. Eastern or something like that. So it's going to be like a Sunday brief. I am East Coast, yeah. I'm Eastern Standard Time. Василько, я можете попросити зробити мені каву от в тій чорно-білій кружці, тому що вона велика. Та. І з сиропом. Дякую. Так. Sorry, I'm asking Basul to make me coffee if he can. But yeah, so that's the news. News is we're going to have Sunday news briefs. Okay, so the Baltic countries support Ukraine's early accession to NATO. Lithuanian, Latvian, and Estonian foreign ministers said. France condemns the annexation of 4 new regions to Russia, considering it a violation of international law. The Élysée Palace said in a statement, French President Emmanuel Macron condemns the illegal annexation of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions to Russia. This is a serious violation of international law as well as the sovereignty of Ukraine, the statement says. I've been saying this so many times, but I think it's so funny how Macron just flipped the switch and he was just like, yeah, no, I always supported Ukraine. Oh my gosh, Russia is doing so many illegal things. Bad Russia. Bad Russia. Russia bad. Ukraine has always been good. I've been good. Do you see? I condemn this. But at this point, I mean, like, here's the thing. He was like treading very lightly, and now there is no lightly to tread with Russia, and so he has to give his full support to Ukraine, and obviously he is. But I think at first, honestly, he was like supportive of Ukraine because he wanted to win the election. That's what it was. US President Biden called the Nord Stream incident a deliberate act of sabotage. He said this at a briefing, reports CNN. We are going to work with our allies to find out exactly what happened, and I have already directed our allies to help strengthen the defense of this critical infrastructure, he said. I mean, obviously, the US is going to condemn it. Oh, hi, Latvia. Hi, Latvia. Obviously, UN is going to condemn it because obviously the US is going to condemn it because, first of all, але ти маєш його дуже добре розбовтати спочатку.
Я знаю.
Але так нормально, так. Ні. I'm teaching Basil how to shake oat milk. He's standing. Wait, I'm sorry. He's standing there and he's like, din, and I'm like, no, dude, you gotta do like that. Sorry. I hope that made everybody laugh. You know, that was the purpose anyway. З тим, що м'ятний. Дякую. But so yeah, I'm just oh my gosh. Okay, so I hope that everybody had a good laugh at that. Let's continue. But so obviously US is going to condemn it because obviously Russia sabotaged Nord Stream and was trying to like hang it onto the US, and the US is only going to help reinforce it, and US is only going to help bring it back, and US is only going to help make it safer, basically to be like it basically only to show and to reinforce the fact that they had nothing to do with it. Veronica says you don't have to be soft on that milk, Vasil. Bam on Twitch says NATO membership for Ukraine has been Canadian policy for over a decade across both conservative and liberal governments. Well, I mean, Ukraine and Canada are both countries where the most population of Ukrainian in the world lives. So I was told that if I'm ever in Toronto and I want to gossip about somebody in Ukrainian so they don't understand, not to, because they will. So, you know, I just proceed through life with the understanding of if I'm ever in Toronto and I want to gossip about somebody in the line for whatever it is at the store behind me, to not speak Ukrainian about them. I can't show him making coffee on live because he's done. The coffee is here, and it's a coffee machine that does the coffee. Hi, Lori and Wallace. Good to see you. Ukraine will return to Crimea this winter, head of the main intelligence directorate, Kirill Budanov, said today. He also stated that after the winter, the end of this conflict would begin, with the first stage reaching the borders of 1991. Now, there are a lot of so here's the thing. This is Kirill Budanov. He's the head of the main intelligence directorate, right? The reason why they're saying this might not be even because this is possible, but because they want to put the idea of Ukraine returning to Crimea soon into our heads, right? And they want to start the process of people understanding that Ukraine has a plan for that. Because they wouldn't be saying this if they didn't have enough intel or enough or strategy how to return Crimea. Now, I wouldn't say that this winter is this is happening and stuff like that. There are lots of American analysts who are saying that by spring, totally possible. Lots of analysts from other countries saying by winter, totally possible. So there is a lot of mixed opinions on that, right? And all of those opinions depend on intel. Also, you need to understand that these analyses are either being pessimistic or optimistic, right? So we don't really know, but I would say that let's make a timeline between winter and summer where it's completely possible, that Ukraine can be back to Crimea by summer, right? Also, there is a person here asking, how can Ukraine legally return Crimea? Referendums again? No, because the annexation and the Shem referendum from Russia was not legal. It's not recognized anywhere in the world, and it's a violation of international law. So Ukraine literally taking back Crimea without a referendum is legal, because Crimea internationally is recognized as an occupied territory of Ukraine. It is not recognized as a territory of Russia. The referendum was illegal. The referendum is a sham. Same as the referendum with Zaporizhia, same as the referendum with Kherson, same as the referendum with Donetsk, same as the referendum with Luhansk. Crimea is an occupied territory of Ukraine. The second that Ukrainian troops enter Crimea and push Russians out, Crimea is back to Ukraine and it's not occupied anymore. There is no need for any referendums. Anyways, but so Kirill Budanov might be optimistic. He might be realistic. We also don't know. We don't have information. And also, here is the thing. One of the things that we don't account for is what weapons we're going to have by then. So we can't really say, oh, Ukraine is going to have it in the winter, or Ukraine is going to have it in the summer, or Ukraine is going to have it in the spring, because most of these predictions are based on what Ukraine has now and maybe based on what's on the way and based on when it can make it. Now, the Lend-Lease started today. Happy Lend-Lease start day. And now Ukraine is going to be able to get a lot more weapons and maybe aircraft that we weren't able to get before. So that is going to significantly change the speeds and strategies with which Ukraine is capable to return its land in a shorter period of time or more efficiently. So all of these things are incredible. All of these things are factors in how fast Ukraine is going to be able to get all of its territories back. And I see you, Alexei. 2-3 тижні. It was 2-3 тижні. 2-3 неділі. Ну, взагалі, Арестовича я не сприймаю, так що, Героям слава. Also, Grumpy, can you take out Midnight 666, please? Oh, no, Grumpy. Grumpy, that guy is a Russian troll. You can take him out. The Twitch guy is a Russian troll. Just take them out. The Midnight 666 person, it's not a warning person. It is a Russian troll. Anyways, on the morning of October 1st, Russian troops struck the Odessa region with missiles. They hit an industrial infrastructure facility, an electrical substation. Several houses and private garages around there were also damaged. No one was hurt. In addition, the Russians also struck Mykolaiv. They hit a residential building there. Currently, there are no details. Let me remind you, Mykolaiv was also hit severely yesterday. The Russian military shelled the Nikopol and Sinelnikovo districts of the Dnipropetrovsk region, better known to you as Dnipro, 5 times at night with Grad, multiple rocket launchers, and heavy artillery. The head of the regional military administration, Valentin Raznichenko, reported. Героям слава. Private houses, outbuildings, a cafe, a hotel, and a power grid were destroyed as a result of enemy strikes. Fortunately, there were no civilian casualties. Take a look. Oh. Oh my gosh, Tony. Tony or Tone Y on YouTube says Twitch and TikTok have all the great trolls. We get nothing on YouTube. Guys, honestly, I'm happy there are no trolls on YouTube, but you know, that does mean that I'm not making anywhere near as much of a fuss on YouTube as I am on TikTok and Twitch. So if you want more trolls, you know, share the live more. The more it goes, the more people see it, the more Russian trolls are like, who is this Ukrainian speaking the truth and weakening our government? Ooh, paycheck opportunity. You know? The Russian military abducted the director general of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Igor Murashov, Energoatom. On September 30th, on the way from the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant to the city of Enerhodar, the Russians stopped his car, forcibly detained him, and drove the man to an unknown destination. There is currently no information on his whereabouts. So they have literally kidnapped the head of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, and nobody knows where he is. I have seen reports that the IAEA commission is quite literally trying to pressure Russia into telling them where he is and trying to return him as soon as possible, as safe as possible, but we will see how that goes. In the early morning of October 1st, the Russian invaders shelled Mykolaiv, hitting a 5-story apartment building with a rocket. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The city's mayor, Alexander Sienkiewicz, reported this. The Council of Europe plans to terminate or not to extend the contracts with 31 citizens of the Russian Federation working in the structure. The Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. Героям слава. Ukraine's membership application for an accelerated accession to join NATO came as a surprise to US President Joe Biden's administration. See, this is very interesting. Hi, Netlin, that Biden said that it came as a surprise to him. I understand that what he meant by this was that he didn't expect Zelensky to apply right now, right? Or maybe he didn't expect Zelensky to apply right now. Him saying that it came as a surprise does 2 things. One, even if it did, you should have said, oh yeah, sure, we're going to look over it, because that's active support and that is sending a message. Another thing that Biden does by saying, oh, this came as a surprise to me, is he makes it sound like Zelensky and him are not in as close of a collaboration as they are, which shows weakness between Ukraine and the US. Not good. Not good. Not good. 2, it makes him sound like an idiot, because it makes it sound like he's just not well informed. So overall, this statement is just very, very problematic on a lot of accords, because when Ukraine applied for NATO, even if you were aware or it came as a surprise to you that it happened just now, unless you're trying to make a point and trying to say that you think Ukraine should not have, or you don't support Ukraine, or you don't want Ukraine in NATO, then you say, yeah, we would support Ukraine's accession to NATO. You don't know? You say, cool, thank you for your application, we're going to review it. But saying that it came as a surprise to you and your administration, yes, Ukraine, but saying that it came as a surprise to your administration is is just so problematic on so many levels because it just shows holes and weaknesses. First and foremost, between your communication with Zelensky. What do you mean he didn't? Of course he would have told you. Like, he would not have just like. Did you just not listen? How is it that the U.S. is the last? How is it that no countries but the U.S. are surprised? You know. So it's just like a very bad from a PR perspective statement, even for Biden, out of everything. That also gives a lot of like talking points for people who are again to be like, see, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Nobody cares to update him, not even Ukraine. Things like that. So it just kind of makes him look like an idiot. That's just besides the fact of like decoding higher messages that Russia is going to be like, ooh, the partnership is not as strong as we thought, it also makes him look like an idiot. That's all. Okay. So all in all, I should not have said that. Hi, Nanny Ria. Okay. A 530 million financial aid package will be provided to Ukraine under the UK and Danish loan guarantees. The statement of the World Bank. Why didn't Ukraine join NATO 10 years ago? Oh, because the whole world laughed in our face when we said that we wanted to. Ukrainian troops are likely to completely encircle or capture Lyman in the Donetsk region within the next 72 hours, as per Institute for the Study of War, and that was at 6 a.m. this time. Now, boy, do I have news for you. Head of the Luhansk military administration said he Haidai, as of the morning of October 1st, about 5,000 Russian soldiers are surrounded in the town of Lyman, Donetsk region. Now, that was in the morning. Ukrainian defenders installed the national flag in Lyman, Donetsk region. That is about an hour after Why won't Ukrainian make peace with their neighbors? First of all, Ukrainian is an adjective. Ukraine is a country. And I don't know, why doesn't Russia stop bombing our houses? The Ukrainian military liberated 5 settlements near Lyman in the Donetsk region, the spokesman of the Eastern Group of Troops, Serhiy Chiravati. So Lyman and 5 more settlements around it. Experts from Finland to the... Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to say something to what happened in Lyman. And this is something that I mentioned before, but I want to go a little bit in depth about it. And I want to read you an article about what happened there. I'm going to find an article and I'm going to read it to you because I know that here. So if you followed Metro Kuleba or Podolyak on Twitter, they said when Ukraine surrounded Lyman that this was revenge for Ilovaysk. And a lot of you probably have no idea what Ilovaysk is, what the tragedy of Ilovaysk is. Thank you, Netland. What the tragedy of Ilovaysk is. And I am going to read to you what happened in Ilovaysk on that day. And I'm going to tell you why this demonstrates our humanity and demonstrates why we are not filthy beings. And after the tragedy of Ilovaysk, and after we had the ability to do the same thing that Russians did, we did not. We took them captive. But before that, let me go turn on the light, and I'll be back in 1 second. Cindy, I wish you could like, entertain while I step away. It's not fair. It's not fair, baby. Okay, so I'm back. I also wanted to take out my retainer too because, you just found out about Ilovaysk today. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know about it. Okay. This is an article from BBC News. This is my first time reading it. If I see any mistakes there, I'm going to correct them as we go. But I'm going to read it to you because I want it to be as illustrative as possible. Ukraine's deadliest day, the Battle of Ilovaisk, August 2014. It was the biggest loss of life in Ukraine's war against Russian-backed separatists against Russia. Hundreds of soldiers died as the Ukrainian army and volunteers retreated in a column from the eastern town of Ilovaysk on 29th of August 2014. Ukrainian veterans are adamant that Russian army was there, even though Moscow has always denied claims that regular Russian forces took part in the battle. They did. Now we know they did. President Vladimir Putin has said nearly that any Russians involved were volunteers following a call of the heart. Yeah, it was literally Russian invasion. How the battle was lost. At first, it seemed like any other operation against Russians, says Roman Zinenko, 45, a former soldier who served in the Dnipro 1 volunteer police battalion that fought in the Battle of Ilovaisk. The Ukrainian army had surrounded the town and their battalion had been ordered to wipe out the Russian forces. But on 24th of August, Ukraine's Independence Day, they began receiving calls from relatives. Ilovaysk was surrounded, Ukrainian media were reporting. We did not feel that because the Ukrainian army held positions around the city, he told the BBC. On August 24th, we even captured the enemy's fortified area. But the next day, heavy mortar shelling began, and the school they were using as a base was raided. We realized the enemy had reinforcements, he said. At the time, we could not imagine the scale of this entrapment. Our troops had surrounded Ilovaysk, but all our troops were surrounded by the enemy too. Negotiations were going on, and a humanitarian corridor was being prepared for them to leave, they were told, and yet their withdrawal was repeatedly postponed. How soldiers became trapped in a bloody corridor. Then, on the morning of August 29th, 2014, came the command to gather and leave Ilovaysk in 2 columns. Nobody knew the routes, said Roman Zinenko. They began to move, they passed the first ring of encirclement smoothly, but within a few kilometers, their column came under fire. It was just a shooting range, and we were the targets, he said. Roman and his fellow soldiers had set out in a security van because of a lack of equipment, but its wheels and motor were shut off, so they switched to a light armored vehicle and kept going under constant fire. Behind them, an infantry fighting vehicle carrying more than 10 soldiers was hit by a shell. Bodies were thrown everywhere by the force of the blast. I can still see it, this body flying high, turning in the air and ending up hanging from a power line. They drove on a few more kilometers until their vehicle was disabled. He escaped unharmed, but his commander, Denis Tomilovich, was hit in the head by a 30mm automatic cannon shell. Another fighter sat next to him. He was injured too, said Roman Zinenko. When Den was hit in the head, fragments of his helmet and skull just caught his forearm. Roman and his comrades managed to survive and escape the encirclement 2 days later. According to official data, 366 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in the Ilovaysk battle. The true figure may be at least 400 when you include soldiers registered missing or unidentified by their relatives. So basically what ended up happening is Russians pre-agreed upon a humanitarian corridor for Ukrainian troops to exit Ilovaysk where they were surrounded. And as they were exiting Ilovaysk, Russians literally just shelled that humanitarian corridor, which as we now see is a pretty typical strategy for them. But 400 Ukrainian volunteers, medics, and servicemen died in the retreat from Ilovaysk. And so today, when we surrounded Lyman in the same manner as Ilovaysk was surrounded, this is our revenge for Ilovaysk. Yet we are not going to be brutal, filthy humans, brutal, filthy excuses for humans, or brutal filth in human bodies, and we're not going to shell at them through a humanitarian corridor. But we are also not going to most likely organize a humanitarian corridor. We're going to take them as POWs. Exports from Finland to the Russian Federation decreased by 70%. Germany and Sweden remain the country's main trade partners. Ukrainian employees of the Zaporizhzhia NPP are being forced to sign labor contracts with Rosatom, according to Bloomberg. They have to do so within 2 weeks to keep their jobs. If Russia takes over the Zaporizhzhia NPP, it will be the biggest nuclear theft in the history. It produces 20% of Ukraine's electricity and is worth at least $40 billion. So now that Russia annexed Zaporizhzhia, they are making the employees of Ukrainian Energoatom sign contracts with Rosatom if they want to keep their jobs. And this is the biggest nuclear blackmail continued that we have ever seen in the world. The Alpha rocket of the Firefly company, built by the team of Ukrainian Max Polyakov, successfully launched into Earth orbit. Привіт! Дякую, ви теж круті. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark summoned Russian Ambassador Vladimir Barbin due to the steps taken by the Russian Federation to annex Ukrainian regions. So here is the State Emergency Service of Ukraine is rescuing a trapped woman from a high-rise apartment building in Mykolaiv where a Russian rocket hit on the night of September 30th. And this is the video from Ukraine now, so you know what's about to happen. I'm going to show it to you on the big screen, because that's what we like to do here. And if you are on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, you're going to be able to see it full screen. If you are on TikTok, then you are going to be able to see it you'll be able to see my screen that shows you the video. Unfortunately, this is the best I can do with the equipment that I have. One, maybe if we're a more professional spy news network, we will be able to do it better. But for now, it is what it is. Okay, sorry. I don't mean to show you my face from both sides, but video file, come on. Oh, well, gee, go ahead.
Так, по моей команде сначала красный, потом желтый, понятно? Да.
Красное, потом желтое по команде.
Давай желтый.
Ножки ниже.
Ножки ниже.
Okay. Flip camera. All right, so that is from the tragedy that happened yesterday from Mykolaiv, when there was a huge shelling and there was a lot of rubble and there were so many victims, and it was really hard to identify or find all of them because, well, of how many victims there were there. And Ukrainian services have been working day and night very hard in order to eliminate all of the consequences and in order to save everybody that they can possibly save. So there is that. US President Joe Biden has signed a law on temporary financing of the country's public expenditures. In particular, it provides for additional funds to support Ukraine. They will go for both military and economic aid. In total, Ukraine will receive $12.3 billion in aid. See, this is what I was saying, where like it makes Biden look like a dumbass, because today he signs a big law, and also today he comes out and says, "Oh, I didn't know Ukraine was going to apply for NATO." He just shouldn't have said that. The Ukrainian armed forces have entered the city of Lyman in Donetsk region. The fighting is still ongoing, reports Serhiy Cherevati, the spokesman of the Eastern Group of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The Russian Federation is to recruit cadets of military schools to the front due to the lack of officers, according to General Staff. It is planned to assign the cadets to primary officer positions in the military units manned by the mobilization reserve. Let me check something. I forgot that I needed to do something very quick, so give me 1 second, because if I don't do it, it's going to really bite me in the ass later. So let me just do this really quick. Okay. Alrighty, done. Let me remind you that I have a Patreon, and if you would like to support me on Patreon, oh, thank you, Yahoo. So if you'd like to support me on Patreon, it's highly appreciated. Not necessary, but really does help me, increase the quality of streams and fund this journey. And as I'm living off my savings, which is okay in my decision, but if you'd like to help out, Patreon is a great way to do so. And the lowest subscription is $10 a month. And you also will be able to see Tork's interview already while we're all waiting for the OPSEC of Ukraine to confirm that it's okay to post it publicly. And also there is going to be a AAA. There is also going to be a raffle for a limited edition Ukrainian stamp, and it's going to come on either Monday or Tuesday. Haven't decided yet. Depends on when Tork's video is going to air publicly. And we just had a pin contest, and I would like to let you know that Jason won it. Patron, locked and loaded. Thank you, Yabu. The Russian Federation is to recruit cadets of military schools to the front due to the lack of officers, according to General Staff. It is planned to assign the cadets to primary officer positions in the military units manned by the mobilization reserve. The Russians struck a humanitarian convoy near Zaporizhia using a long-range air defense missiles, British intelligence. They add that the stockpile of such missiles is probably limited and is a valuable resource designed to shoot down modern aircraft and approaching missiles. The use of these missiles for a ground attack indicates that Russia has a shortage of ammunition, especially high-precision, long-range missiles. Also, let me point out, Patreon, I think, Mariana, Patreon renews automatically, I believe. Also, another thing on Patreon is that every first Thursday of the month, I'll be doing a Zoom call with you guys where we can talk about things and you can ask me questions and we can just chat. And so this Thursday is the first Thursday that we're going to do the Zoom call, and I am going to post about it on Monday. But yes, there were times that people voted for. Thursday turned out to be what people preferred the most. And so Thursday it is. Thursday around, I think it was 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the call on Thursday. Sini, come here. Stop doing that. Thank you very much. The Russian Ministry of Defense has confirmed that it had withdrawn its troops from the town of Lyman in the Donetsk region due to the threat of encirclement. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Armed Forces also confirms that it is already in the town. A Ukrainian flag has been raised at the entrance and the clearing up continues. Today, Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022 entered into force, and that means more different and high-quality weapons, Chairman of the Verkhovna Rada Ruslan Stefanchuk. Ukraine will definitely take all of its territories back. Shelled convoy of cars with civilians inside was found in the Kupiansk district of the Kharkiv region, the head of the regional military administration, Oleg Sanahubov, said. According to preliminary data, 20 people were killed in the cars. Law enforcement officers and experts went to the place. The details are being clarified. So Kupiansk is a district of Ukraine, is a district that Ukraine liberated recently, and the way that they worded it is kind of odd because it doesn't, they are not saying that it's something that happened earlier, but it also does seem like it's something that happened earlier because they said a shelled convoy was found. So it's not like the shelling occurred now. It must have occurred while the Russian occupation was there, so a while ago. The shooting occurred in late September in the gray zone between the temporarily occupied town of Svatova in the Luhansk region and the liberated Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region. Acting head of the Security Service of Ukraine, Vasyl Maluk, said. Among at least 20 killed are 10 children. A sabotage and reconnaissance group of Russians carried out the attack. They shot 6 cars and 1 Gazelle truck almost at close range with small arms. Clarification from the prosecutor's office on the shelled convoy in the Kupiansk district. The Russian army attacked it on September 25th as civilians tried to evacuate. 2 cars were completely destroyed. They were children with their parents. They burned alive. 24 victims of shooting of civilian vehicles in Kharkiv region were identified at the moment, including a pregnant woman and 13 children, reports the head of Kharkiv Region Military Administration, Oleg Sinahubov. So that's one of those things where, when people argue me and say, oh no, it's okay that Ukrainian women live right next to Russian men. Not every Russian man is a rapist. Think about the people in that convoy. And think about their surviving relatives and those relatives having to live near Russians in a refugee center. It's awful. And it's traumatizing. Also, I see that Grumpy said that Armin's quote for the day is up. So Armin sends a quote of the day every day, and I find them very relevant and I find them amazing. So I'm going to show it on the screen and I'm going to read it to you. John Dryden wrote, "All delays are dangerous in war. The greatest weapon in Russia's arsenal is not a plane or missiles. It's the wavering attitude of leaders like Scholz and Truss and Macron." I agree with that. До мене має прийти їжа. Якщо вони подзвонять, ти забереш її?
А через скільки?
Десь 10 хвилин.
Добре, тому що хотів там це на окей.
Okay, дякую. So I agree with that completely because, all of these leaders that are supporting Ukraine, but also flip-flopping and being wishy-washy and changing their mind and stuff like that, they're just making it worse, and they're giving Putin ammunition to think that Ukraine's support is something they could shake up. The Ministry of Defense of Russia commented for their first time on the loss of Lyman, which is an important strategic town for the liberation of other settlements in the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. It stated that the Russian command had been forced to withdraw its troops to more advantageous positions. Oh yeah? Is that what it's called now when you get your ass handed to you? You withdraw to more advantageous positions? Is that what it is? Also, you guys on Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, and you connect your account to Amazon Prime, it gives you 1 free subscription to a creator on Twitch, and it's 1 per month. So if you connect your Amazon Prime, then you are going to be able to subscribe to me or to someone else, then you can do that. Through Amazon Prime for free. So I did want to say another thing that I want to say is I do in that quote. The only thing that I would say is that I don't agree with Liz Truss. I think that Liz Truss support is unwavering, and I think that the UK in general, since Bojo and after Bojo, is very, very, very much very vocally pro-Ukrainian and is, yes, it is someone that needs to be heeded. And I do think that that the UK has very, very, very unwavering support, and I don't think anything is going to change that because the UK people are incredibly supportive of Ukraine, and it doesn't even matter what Liz Truss thinks or does in order to keep the support of the UK people, she needs to keep the support of Ukraine. So it's all about the people, not about the politicians in this case.
Новий посілок відбили Шандриголово. Зараз будемо знімати підерський флаг. Знімає наш командир, Север.
Это все, бля, конечно, заебись, блядь. Ты на мой телефон звонишь.
Давай, я тобі скину.
Кинешь? На.
Давай я буду. Да, знімай його теж. Айда! Давай, братан! ЗСУ йде вперед! За ДШВ, ребята! Ніхто, крім нас! Прикривайте, пацани, вперед прикривайте теж. Крийте передок.
Передок криємо.
Ніхто, крім нас, ребята, ніхто.
Ми підером зато криємо, блядь.
95-та.
Завжди перший. Завжди перший.
This is Ukrainian troops tearing down the Russian flag and installing the Ukrainian flag at the village of Shandrogolova, Donetsk region. That's what it was. Then the next one is Belbek military airfield in the city of Sevastopol in occupied Crimea. The governor, Mikhail Razvozhayev, reported an emergency situation. Allegedly, a plane rolled outside the runway limits and caught fire. Allegedly. One second. Yeah, but see, the airplane didn't catch fire because you see there's something flying towards there, and then it starts fuming. Sinichka, okay. Yes, I know. You probably want to go on a walkie. 2 minutes, 5 minutes. 5 minutes? You wait 5 minutes? You wait 5 minutes, baby? Okay. UNESCO member states called on Russia to immediately withdraw from Ukraine. During the UNESCO World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, Mondia called 2022, 48 participating countries, including 27 EU countries, the United States, Great Britain, Canada, and others, condemned Russia's aggression against Ukraine. We cannot watch as one country tries to erase the identity and culture of another country, nor can we accept further actions that contradict the UNESCO Constitution and our own common conventions. We call on Russia to immediately step beyond Ukraine's internationally recognized borders and demand an immediate end to its aggression against Ukraine to guarantee protection from further damage to Ukraine's natural, immovable, and movable cultural heritage in all its forms, the UNESCO member states said in a statement. The number of wounded as a result of the shelling of a convoy in Zaporizhia, has increased to 118 people. So the shelling of the humanitarian convoy in Zaporizhia yesterday has resulted in 118 people wounded. Several hundreds of relatives of the Ukrainian servicemen who are missing in action took part in a rally at the Independence Square in Kyiv. The rally aims to remind the representatives of the international organizations that the Ukrainian servicemen were captured while defending not only Ukraine, but also European security. The IAEA demands an explanation from Russia regarding the detention of the Director General of the Zaporizhia NPP. The International Atomic Energy Agency has appealed to the Russian authorities with a request to provide explanation in regard to reports about the detention of the Zaporizhia NPP's Director General. We have contacted Russian authorities and are requesting clarifications, the publication quotes an IAEA spokesman. The Ukrainian Foreign Affairs Minister Dmytro Kuleba called NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg to brief him in detail on Ukraine membership application, which I found that's so funny because he was basically like, yeah, whatever you said yesterday was so vague and such garbage that like you gotta explain what you meant. And I feel like, as I've said earlier, after the Stephen Colbert show, everybody really likes Kuleba. I've been a Kuleba fangirl over here preaching about him for the last like at least 4 months because he's been incredible. And I think that he's like, he's my spirit animal. He was just like, what? No, you tell me exactly what you meant, bro. But so, yeah. So Ukraine will deepen its integration into NATO, said Ukrainian Minister of Defense Alexei Reznikov. Alexei Reznikov said that Ukraine already cooperates with the alliance on the defense sector more deeply than some of its formal members. He called the president's decision to apply for membership in the alliance a continuation of integration. The Russian missile strikes completely put 2 substations in the south of Ukraine out of commission, reports Ukrenergo press service. Gas leakage from the Nord Stream 2 pipeline has stopped, reports Nord Stream 2 company. High representatives of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Joseph Borrell, thinks that NATO membership for Ukraine is not the main issue at the moment. He argued that the most important thing at the moment is to keep providing military assistance for Ukraine as it was done before and keep on the sanctions against Russia, which are effective in his opinion. Well, I don't agree with him because, Ukrainian membership in NATO would, in fact, guarantee that Ukraine stays safe because Russia would start being scared of it. And that's about that. And it's more strategic. Like, you don't have to accept Ukraine into NATO, but you don't have to criticize this. You have to be like, yes, this is a great move. This is exactly the move that we were expecting. That's what will help Ukraine. Also, that is all I have for you for today. And my dog is really, 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 really like pawing at me, and she really wants to go for a walk. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to go attend to that because Sydney really needs a walkie, and I hope that you guys are okay with that. And I might see you a little later tonight, but I do have so much to finish today in terms of different things. 1 second. Hello. What do you mean? I didn't call you. I didn't call you. What? I thought that was my delivery person, but this is someone from New Jersey calling me. Anyways, I thought this was my food, but this was someone who's like, who am I talking to? And I'm like, I have no idea. Who are you? And he's like, you called me. And I'm like, I didn't call you. He's like, I got your number from my phone. I'm like, I did not call you. Hi, Joe. Hi. But yeah, okay, guys, I am going to go. I will try to be back later. I don't know if I will be able to. It largely depends on how fast I can do a lot of the things that I need to finish, which include translating the next parts of Tork interviews so we can guarantee that they are reviewed way before they need to be published. And also I have a very exciting collaboration coming up with a Ukrainian company. And there is a lot coming up. So I will see you guys either later or tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, I really, really, really appreciate you. Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you, Netlin.